Three, two, one, and we're live, ladies and gentlemen. How the fuck are ya? It's been a crazy few days in crypto, and we're gonna get to all that in just a moment. But first, say hello to producer Kraser.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Barstool Bitcoin.
What's going on, you slippery little bulls and bears? We got a real exciting ep for you guys today. We got a pretty sharp drop in total market cap, and we got a bunch of current events. But first, I just want to say, happy to be back on the pod this week. Was traveling around, was in south of France, traveled around Europe a little bit over the last 2 weeks, hit up Milan, Italy, ate some pizza. I didn't speak Italian, so I had to get out of there. Hit Monaco, Cannes, few other spots. But boys, I'm fucking pumped to be back with reliable Wi-Fi, and I want to say thank you to our thousands of listeners for staying strong through the bye week. So let's get a quick rundown to start things off of what's happening in crypto right now. Kraser, where's the market at?
All right. Well, let's take a look right now. As we're looking at it right now, we're looking at about 6,300 right now. So I think that's a little bit lower than the last time we spoke to you. But Dan, do you have any thoughts on where it's at now and kind of what it's been looking like the last couple of weeks and where we're going here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in in Bitcoin. We saw a pretty sharp candle down today, and there's quite a bit of resistance that formed with that dump. So we're in our trading group. We'll put a link in the show notes to join our trading group. It's free. You guys could get access to analysis and signals and all sorts of cool resources in our group. We're talking about how we're just letting things settle and develop a bit more for now before we engage in any trades, just watching the daily close. But we're seeing some strength on this buyback, which isn't a bad sign, but overall the following daily block, it's at around 59.75 is the level that has to hold. And if it doesn't, my next target would be 53.50 and potentially even lower. So we'll see what type of daily close we get along with the price action here. And in terms of the alts, the market cap valuations look ready for upside, in my opinion. The test of the daily order block and the support looks like a pretty good buying opportunity for this end, but I would caution you guys, just stay patient and don't get impulsive, and make sure to wait until we let the price develop a little bit more. Now, we haven't done our predictions for 2 weeks, but I guess we should make our predictions for next week, right, Kraser?
I think that's a great idea. I think since you're the one on vacation and I was stuck at home, I'm going to go first this time.
Let's hear it.
You know what? Having taken a look at it, and I don't know, I think it's going to dip a little bit more, Dan. I think it's going to dip a little bit more before we start seeing some significant change. What do you think? So I'm going to take the under.
You're going to take the under. So I'm not sure where you're looking, but the price that I'm seeing on CoinMarketCap right now is 62.85, so it dipped under 6,300. It's a tough call, this one. It's a pretty tough call. I've been saying for more than a month, I think more than even 2 months, that we're gonna tip the 5K level. So I'm gonna stick with you. I'm gonna take the under as well, and I think a lot of the top market cap coins, all the altcoins are gonna they're gonna bleed when Bitcoin, if Bitcoin does indeed keep sinking lower, we're gonna see probably a pretty big sell-off, and they're gonna bleed. Like Ethereum's under $200 right now. Ripple went down from 50 cents to 40 cents, and a lot of the top market cap coins are down 10% or more on the day, on the 24 hours. So we got the same pick this week, bud.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to being on your team for this week, and we'll see how next week goes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the whales are stabilizing the market right now. They're not crashing it, but if we do hit some lower levels, chances are we will see some of these whales have to sell off. I mean, there was a study done. They analyzed the 32 largest Bitcoin wallets not on exchanges in August 2018. Now, these wallets have about a million bitcoins in them, and they basically batched them into three groups. They had the traders, the miners, and the criminals, basically. So, yeah. So the traders from their study are sitting on about 332,000 bitcoins, which is roughly, a little under a third of the total amount of the top wallets. And most of these traders are new arrivals in the market, so they came into the market in 2017, and they're the least likely to have to sell. They're engaged in trades. They're probably shorting at these levels and margin trading the swings. And then the miners, which is the second largest group, they've been in the market, pretty much since Bitcoin's inception. I mean, a lot of these miners, and they account for another 332,000 coins, which is about $2 billion. And this group is made up of 15 investors, and they came in the market earlier, a lot earlier than the traders. So, I mean, I think these are the people who are going to, in the end, have to sell supply consistently to manage their overhead. They have a burn rate. When you're running a big mining operation, you're paying, the power is very expensive. You're paying for to keep the climate at a certain level inside of your facility, and you have to sell off Bitcoin at all levels. Doesn't matter if it crashes all the way to $1. They're gonna have to sell if they want to keep their operation going. And then the third group is the last group is the criminals. So they're made up of I'm not sure how many people, but they happen to hold the smallest number of coins, about 125,000 bitcoins, which is less than a billion. And these people are linked to like Silk Road and these dark net marketplaces, and probably engaged in a lot of money laundering. And I'm sure they're selling at all levels as well, because they don't really care about the level. They're just using it as a store of value to conceal their identity and not have to go through banks. So overall, these whales are really holding up the market, and I think as we tip lower and lower, we'll see what happens. I mean, the marketplace lost 16 billion, and the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones plummeted too. So it's a pretty deadly crypto dive, like lots of red on the charts.
So here's a question for you, Dan. So I know I'm going to take a look at maybe the second group with the investors, which they have like a pretty big market share as well too. What do you think their potential like tipping point is to be like, okay, we need to start maybe selling off some Bitcoin here?
I think it depends on um, a couple factors. The biggest factor is going to be how and when they acquired the Bitcoin. So if these investors are managing a large fund, then they're going to have to sell at a certain point, because the investors are going to be pushing them to move into fiat and potentially buy lower or just book the loss, and they're going to be getting a lot of pressure from the investors into their funds. So I mean, I think if we hit below this next support and we go into 5K, we might see a big sell off that'll drive us down, like potentially lower than 5K.
Okay, so that'll definitely be listeners. You hear that? Definitely keep your eyes out on this story. This could be huge. in either which way it goes. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the good news is, well, actually, I don't really know how much good news this really is for most of us. A lot of us in crypto do own stocks as well, and I mean, the U.S. stock market took a pretty significant hit as well on Wednesday of this week. Like Facebook, Netflix, Visa, they all got smashed. On the Dow, we had like Microsoft, Nike. I mentioned Visa before, Apple, and a whole bunch of other companies who just plunged more than Bitcoin did. Bitcoin's only down about 6% on the 24 hour. So
yeah,
the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones took a solid hit as well, and I mean the stock market as a whole had solid reasons behind the fall, which is the rising interest rates. But I mean, we'll see how things play out from here, and where the stock market goes and how it correlates to Bitcoin and the other stock indexes.
yeah, it looks pretty interesting on the red front there. But like I said, just hold tight, and we'll see where it goes. And hopefully, it started getting back up there pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is just part of the normal market cycle. Don't get emotional about it. If you join our trading group on Telegram, you'll see how we're analyzing Bitcoin, and it's no reason to panic. Just stay strong and don't get emotional. One of the biggest things that did happen though recently was Bitfinex suspended all their fiat deposits because of a huge Bitcoin sell off. And I mean, I don't know if this makes them the culprit in this sell off, but there was a BVI based exchange. They're a BVI based exchange, and they paused their Euro, USD, British Pound, and Japanese Yen wire deposits, and they're not letting people deposit fiat right now. So I mean, they've been long suspected to be holding funds at this bank, and now we'll see like what happens if Bitfinex was actually banking at through a private account. Then this could open them up to a pretty large liability, potential lawsuits. I mean, but there was just a huge sell off on this week, and I mean, who knows if there's a connection between the decline and Bitfinex? I mean, I guess only time will tell, but we'll see what happens from here with them. There was, there was, I mean, there was some good news, I guess, amid all this red. I was just reading this article about how some of the top schools in the US, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, how their endowments have all invested into crypto funds, which is pretty good news. Their endowments are absolutely colossal. Like, um, my brother went to Phillips Exeter Academy, which is a prep school. It's like a private prep school. It's like 40 grand a year to go there for high school. You know what I mean? And and they're a feeder school to Harvard, and the Exeter endowment, their high school, the endowment was over $1 billion. So that means Harvard's and MIT's and Stanford, their endowments are multiple billions, I would assume. And we saw a bunch of these Ivy League and prestigious universities making investments into crypto funds. So we'll see how that ends up affecting the overall health of the market. Like I said, we're at pretty strong support, but I mean, overall, it's looking a bit bleak. Like the current block has to hold if we're gonna remain bearish. If not, we will probably see a swing from here. I might engage in in a long on Bitcoin if we end up seeing a good daily close today. So I'm considering it. We're at yearly support, and this level, the yearly support level, is pretty much always going to be a buy until it's not. So chances are I'm on the long side favor here, but I do think we're going to. With that said, I think we will see the under next week.
Yeah, as we predicted. But as you said, like it's pretty interesting to see like all those big universities, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, all invest in this. So I don't know, like if you see those guys have been around for a long time, I feel like you got a lot of smart people there. So I think that should have like a positive influence moving forward. I know that kind of makes me feel a little bit more secure too. If you're saying like, hey, well, if these big guys are doing it, like, why shouldn't I be doing it too? You know?
Yeah, exactly, and it's just positive for the long-term outlook of Bitcoin that we have these large endowments, these large schools, some of the best schools in the nation investing in the technology. That means that their logic is that we're either bottoming out right now or we're very close to the bottom. So it's very possible that you and I are both wrong on the over under pick next week, and we'll have to eat our words when we record next week. But I would be happy with that, honestly. Like I said, I'm looking to get into a long position depending on what the daily close looks like. And this dude from CNBC, Rand Nooner, you may have heard of him. He seems to think that Bitcoin is about to explode because of the ETF decision. And there's actually a bunch of ETF decisions. The SEC in the US set a deadline on the 5th of November to review 9 Bitcoin ETF applications. And I mean, we'll see how they choose to evaluate those, but they've been putting these off quite. In the last couple ones were put off and were declined, but then decided to be reviewed again, and then were put off. So they're kind of just delaying. In late August, the SEC reviewed. I can't remember what it was called, which ETF it was, but they rejected it, and they rejected a bunch of them actually. Just a day after it was disapproved, the regulators found the products didn't. I mean, they stated that the products didn't comply with the requirements. Um, but I mean, I disagree. I think that their logic was that they're designed to create fraudulent and manipulative practices, basically. That, but like, obviously, obviously people are going to be manipulating Bitcoin because the whales control the vast majority of the supply. And this guy from CNBC, Rand Nooner, he's pretty confident in an upcoming surge in Bitcoin's price. He said that he just bought Bitcoin for his parents in a tweet, and maybe we could see a pretty big rally if the U.S. if the SEC rather does approve one or several of these ETF applications. I mean, that would be
So
huge
what?
news.
So what are they like? What are they looking? So I know you said they have about 9 of them. They're in review, and they're gonna kind of take a look at them. But what is the SEC specifically looking for these to be able to pass, so that maybe we can move forward with this and then see a big jump? Do you know exactly, or have like any kind of idea?
I'm not really sure exactly what they're looking for, but the long and short of it is that they just want to make sure that it is not opening up investors to be frauded and to fall victim to market manipulation, because like I said earlier, the the largest wallets in crypto are I mean, it's similar to the distribution of wealth in very poor countries like India. You look at the distribution of wealth, there's no middle class. There's either
Yeah,
very, very wealthy people and then extreme poverty. And crypto is similar in that the whales are holding the majority, the vast majority of the supply, and the mining segment of those whales have a lot of power because they have massive Bitcoin flow that they're constantly having to sell either on market or off market. And I mean, if a Bitcoin ETF gets approved, I think it will get approved. I don't know if it will be approved this year, but eventually it will, and that's gonna help Bitcoin reach mainstream investors, and they wouldn't have to invest directly into Bitcoin. Like they could have cash settlement, and it would be listed on a regulated US exchange, a Bitcoin ETF, and that could really push Bitcoin toward mainstream adoption and give it a ton of attention on Wall Street, which is really at the end of the day, that's going to be, I mean, the driving force to for the next bull run, I think.
nice, nice. That's pretty well. Hopefully, like you said, we'll see how it goes. We'll see. I'm sure we'll have more once decisions are made. We'll definitely hop on that and make sure to keep you guys informed on that moving forward.
Yeah, there's some interesting developments that I think are about to take place, but it is also possible that we see another. If we don't see, I mean, Tone Vase tweeted that if we don't see 5K levels from Bitcoin, then we're in for 6 more months of bear market. Well, not really bear market, but we're just gonna stay at this level for like 6 more months. But I mean, that's all speculation, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, well, we'll have to see. I mean, like you never know with the market, right? So it's only like what we can predict or take a look at and go off what we have. But it'll be interesting to see the next 6 months, kind of where it goes. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. Did you get a chance to watch the fights last weekend? The
Fucking rights,
UFC?
I watched the fights.
It was
Yeah, that
crazy,
was
right?
honestly. I didn't think McGregor was gonna win. I thought Habib was a better fighter than McGregor overall, for sure. But having played a lot of sports in my life, I mean, after the fight or after the game, it is what it is. Like, don't be a sore winner, don't be a sore loser. Like, hey, buddy, like, I'm sorry, Khabib, but fucking McGregor made you a shit ton of money off this fight too by how he hyped it up, and like your next purse, if you're able to get your next purse, will be much higher because of him. So as much as he shit talked to you and whatever, still got to respect the guy because he actually helped promote the fight. So take it for what it is. Take it for face value. It's a fucking job, you know. But I'm not okay with the shenanigans after. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I was in Italy when the fight happened. It was like 6 a.m. when the main event started. So I tried to stay up, but I ended up falling asleep like 2 hours before, and then I woke up like a couple a couple hours after the whole event ended. So the first thing I did was I streamed it, and man, I was like freaking out because, I mean, it was a good fight. I'm an MMA fan. It was a good fight, and I really enjoyed the fight itself. But the big story, obviously, was like the fight after the fight, and things are still unfolding. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see if the UFC or if the Nevada State Athletic Commission chooses to release Khabib's purse. They're holding 2 million, but I think he's gonna get fined a good amount. But I just saw on Instagram today he's hanging out with Putin in his office, so Putin probably.
Yeah, and he was also threatening. He said, "If you guys fire my two training mates or the guys that are in a corner that punch Connor," he told him he's gonna quit. So I'd like to see that happen. But in my mind, honestly, watched Dana White's half an hour post game, post mortem, let's say. In my mind, no publicity is bad publicity, especially for a sport like that. So I think maybe in the short term it might have hurt them, but a long term, it's a long term game off that.
Yeah. And also I think there's I mean, that was a pretty weird segue there. I don't know why I was thinking about the fight, but there's also a pretty big hearing coming up. I believe I don't know when it is, but I don't know if it's today or tomorrow or what the actual deal is behind that. But there's a big hearing for crypto that's coming up, and I mean that could have an influence on the market as well. I'm just trying to find the details here. It was by
Yeah,
Doctor Doom. They call him Doctor
that's
Doom.
today. It's on the 11th, so that's
Yeah,
today. It was
today. Okay,
happening.
the 11th. Yeah, Nouriel Rubini. Here it is. So he's talking in front of in front of Congress today. So by the time you guys are hearing this episode, there should be a ruling on that. He's a pretty big American economist, and he's gonna apparently debunk crypto and blockchain in front of the U.S. Congress, in front of the
And
U.S. Senate committee. So
I'd just like to throw out a little challenge here to all our listeners. You know, since Dan just said that we won't have the final hearing until after this episode is aired, we'd love to see your comments. If you want to leave a comment and kind of what you think of the ruling, it'd be nice to hear, and then maybe we can throw on a couple comments next episode.
yeah, definitely. And if you guys have questions or comments at any time, just go to YouTube, type in crypto 10x, and that's our channel on YouTube with the number 10 crypto 10x, and just leave us a comment on one of the episodes. We post all the episodes on there for those of you who find it easier to listen on YouTube. And some of these episodes have video interviews as well. So just leave us a comment on one of the episodes, and if you have a good question as well, post it there, and we can rap about it next week on our next episode.
Looking forward to hearing that. I challenge you boys and girls. Whoever gets the best question will get a little shout out. No big deal.
Not a big deal. So I think that's about it for today. Let's wrap things up here, Kraser. You want to close things out? You have any last words for the listeners?
Well, I just want to say it's nice to be back on the waves here, back on the pod, talking to my buddy Dan, having all my listeners just getting what they need. Hope we provide you with some entertainment, and just keep on listening. We really, really appreciate all the downloads and all the listens, and hope to keep you entertained. And we'll see what happens next week, boys and girls.
Yeah, thanks, boys, and thank you for listening to the podcast, and thank you to our sponsor. This episode was brought to you by BitMEX. BitMEX is a crypto derivatives trading platform. It's the easiest way to margin trade, and we have free group for all of you to take advantage of the bear and the bull market so you can prosper in any market with BitMEX. So thank you, BitMEX, for making this all possible. We'll leave the link to sign up in the show notes for both BitMEX and to our free trading group. BitMEX is the easiest way to trade. Doesn't matter where you're from. You can use up to 100 times leverage, and you can trade without expiry dates, which is the coolest feature that they have. And their security is on point. They've never been hacked, which is also a very big plus in my books. Sign up takes less than 30 seconds. It's quick and easy. Just hop in the show notes section, sign up, then join our Telegram group, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening.